Company loyalty used to be a thing. The company was loyal to its employees, and the employees were loyal to the company. It was a win-win situation. Now, there is no company loyalty towards its employees, and there's no employee loyalty towards the company. And I would say it's a lose-lose situation. Man, I think it's spring break. There's a ton of kids out here. Usually in the middle of the week, it's like a ghost town. Usually just a handful of campers or RVers over by on the other side of the lake. But this week, there's been a relative influx of kids here, and you can hear them in the background. I mean, it's good. Kids need to be out in nature, you know, so I don't begrudge them that. But it does make it somewhat of a challenge trying to find a place to make a video. So I went in the woods, and it's overcast now, and I thought I heard some rumbling in the distance, so maybe we'll get some storms coming in. So I'm on a 30-some day streak of hitting my step goal of 8,000 steps. My stride is about 2,200 steps per mile, so it's a little under 4 miles for me. Yeah. It's a little noisy. I'm sure next week it'll be back to normal. Today I want to talk to you about company loyalty. I'm sure most of you will agree with me that loyalty from the company towards the employee is non-existent, and the other way around also. The employee has no loyalty towards the company. And that just seems to be a fact of modern life, and that's why people, switch jobs very easily now, and why job hopping is not so much of a stigma like it used to be. So I'm not going to say too much about how it is now, but what I want to do is I want to give you an idea of how company loyalty used to be in the past. There used to be like an obligation, in a sense, from the company towards its employees. It would take care of you. They would make sure they gave decent wages and they gave decent benefits. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm thinking of my father. My father worked for the same company for over 40 years. He started working in 1941. Actually, it was the same night that as Pearl Harbor, when Pearl Harbor was hit. So he started there in 41, and he retired in 1982. So that's well over 40 years. And not that it really means anything, but the name of the company was Western Electric. And probably most of you watching this have no clue what that company is. It's no longer a thing, but back in the day, it was a big employer. It was part of the so-called Bell system, owned by Ma Bell before the Bell company was broken up in the mid-'80s. I think it was in the mid-'80s, 80s sometime. Anyways, he started off in tool and die, and he worked his way up until like later in the late 60s or early 70s, I think. He got into time management, so-called industrial engineering, figuring out time studies and efficiency and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he had a career there spanning over 40 years, and he had a pension from the company. He had other retiree benefits from the company. For example, he had supplemental medical insurance through the company even after he retired. He was able to purchase stock in the Bell Corporation as part of his salary package. I'm not sure on the details because I was very young at the time, but I do know that he purchased a lot of stock as being an employee of essentially the Bell Telephone. So he was well treated, but that generation is gone. And he even, acknowledges that, or he acknowledged that, after he retired, he's like, those days will never be there again. Because now, there's no such thing as a retirement pension, right? If you're lucky, you might get a 401k, and the company might match it. Sometimes you have to wait a while before you're fully vested in that. So that's one thing to consider if you are going to switch jobs and you're participating in a 401k match with your employer. But that's another story. I don't really want to get into that. But yeah, my father had a lot of benefits. He also had benefits with like his phone bill. Since Western Electric was part of the phone company, one of his benefits was that he got up to $40 reimbursed for long distance on his phone bill every month, back in the day when long distance was a separate charge and a lot more expensive than calling local. That's a whole nother story too. We're not used to that anymore with cell phones and so on. My dad worked for a big company, and so they could, they had a lot of generous benefits, but I don't think that was unique to big companies. That was just pretty much the norm, no matter where you worked. If you stayed there for an extended period of time, you accrued more benefits, and so that was part of the incentive, as that you wanted to, the longer you stayed, the more benefits you would get, and they would, you'd have a nice little package at the end of it all. That doesn't happen now, does it? Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Now, you're lucky if you have a 401k. And as far as medical expenses or medical insurance when you're older, after you retire, well, guess what? You get shoved onto Medicare or Medicaid, whatever it is. I forget what it's called. But you have to deal with that whole debacle. So yeah, company loyalty used to be a thing. The company was loyal to its employees, and the employees were loyal to the company. It was a win-win situation. Now, there is no company loyalty towards its employees, and there's no employee loyalty towards the company. And I would say it's a lose-lose situation. There's just no motivation, really, to stay at one company for years and years. And as a matter of fact, a lot of there's a truck driving in the distance. I don't know if you hear that or not. I'm in the middle of the woods, but there's the park road just over there. Yeah. Yeah, so nowadays it's lose-lose. No loyalty towards the company from the employee, and no loyalty from the company towards the employee. And yeah, so that's why workers are, if somebody offers a better compensation, better salary package, whatever, they won't hesitate to switch companies. And not that long ago, such behavior was considered job hopping. But now it seems like that's the only way that you can get ahead. That's the only way that you get to have a substantial pay increase. That's the only way you can get a promotion that actually means something. And by means something, I mean you can see it in your bank account, right? And it's kind of sad that it's come to this, but what are you going to do? And if you look at a lot of other videos online from career counselors and stuff like that, they will say if you stay in a particular company too long, whatever too long means, right? 3 years or 4 years or so, you're going to get passed by. You're going to get passed by promotions. You're going to get passed by in the job market. Your salary, your compensation will stagnate. So, yeah, it's because the loyalty, that bond, mutually beneficial bond or relationship that used to exist between a company and its employees has been totally destroyed. And I suppose there's different reasons for that, but the reasons don't really matter, do they? Because it's gone. But anyways, I just wanted to give you some perspective on how it was, how it used to be, and why people would stay in the same company for 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years. It was a real thing. And it's gone. Totally gone. Just to show you off to the south, it's cloudy and a little more southwest, and there's light in the sky. So if you like this video, if it gave you something to think about, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments or observations, put them put them down below in the comments, and we can get a discussion going. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Do you know anybody who worked at the same company for years and years and years? Or how long have you stayed at different companies, and what prompted you to leave and go on to another company? I'll talk to you later. Bye.